Okay, next, we're waiting for Andrea to come, but she hasn't arrived, so I'm gonna go to Ray Milano. He's the Deputy Associate Administrator from the Office of Veteran Business Development. Let's give him a hand.
All right, good morning. First, I want to thank Joe and the Vet Force team and the HHS team for having us here today. We appreciate the opportunity to come in front of you and talk a little bit about SBA and, you know, this SBA Federal Reserve Veteran Access to Capital report. But first, you know, I have the floor, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the SBA, a little SBA commercial. How many people have heard about the Small Business Administration? What do we want to see? How many people have utilized the resources and services of the Small Business Administration? All right, that's good. That's what we want to hear. So again, my name is Ray Milano. I'm with the Office of Veterans Business Development with the U.S. Small Business Administration. So, you know, SBA, we cover all small businesses, all entrepreneurs across the country. For the Office of Veteran Business Development, we focus on, laser focus all SBA programs and services on veterans, National Guard Reserve members, transitioning service members, military spouses, and family members, right? So our job is to laser focus all the SBA programs and services. We have some programs under our umbrella, like Boots to Business, the Veteran Business Outreach Center program, the VBOC program, the Women Veteran Entrepreneurship program, VIP, Veteran Institute for Procurement, VIP grads here, all right? If you don't know about VIP, definitely grab one of their cards. It's a great program if you look into federal procurement. Service Disabled Veteran Entrepreneurship Program, Dog Tag Bakery, heard of Dog Tag Bakery? Right? One of our partners locally. Bunker Labs, we work with Bunker Labs. So that's under our umbrella. So our job is to laser focus on programs. But if you think about SBA as a whole, and you know, I think of SBA as 1,400 locations, right? Over 12,000 business advisors across the country in U.S. territories, okay? So again, 1,400 locations, 12,000 business advisors, and that includes the SBA district offices, our regional offices, but also the Small Business Development Center network, right? The Women Business Center program network across the country. SCORE, right? These are our resource partners across the country. The Veteran Business Outreach Centers across the country. On the federal procurement side, right? Procurement Center representatives, commercial market representatives across the country in every region across the country. So there's a wealth of resources across the country, and one of the things I like to highlight with SBA is everything is local. We say we have a local team member or resource partner within 30 minutes of anybody in the country, okay? So we have a resource within 30 minutes of anybody in the country. So taking advantage of those resources are important. But number one, you need to understand how to take advantage of those resources and plug into a navigator, right? Somebody that you could sit down with locally and say, hey, this is who I am, this is my short-term goals, here's my long-term goals, this is what I'm looking for. How do I plug into the SBA network? How do I do that? And getting a local navigator to do that is what you need to do. And our local district offices, if we're talking about the veteran side, right? Service-disabled veteran-owned business, veteran-owned small businesses. We have a veteran business development officer in every one of the 68 SBA district offices. And their job is to understand what's happening in that local community to help veteran-owned small businesses. We also have 22 Veteran Business Outreach Centers, VBOCs, across the country. And they're an extension of that local district office. So they plug into that district office and they understand what's happening in those local communities and how you can plug in. So whether it's, you know, you're starting a business, you want to grow your business, you're looking for access to capital, you're looking to get into federal procurement, you're looking for commercial supply chain opportunities, you're looking to export, you're looking for small business investment company connections. You name it, across the SBA portfolio, I'm sure there's something you could plug in on a local level where you could use that navigator. And we want you to have that trust agent. We know it's important to have that one person to be that sounding board that's not going to waste your time, that says, hey, this is what you need now, here's the organization, here's the training program, here's the resource you need to plug in right now. And what I like to say about SBA is, you know, most of our services are totally free to you. You know, you've already paid for it, why not use it? We're already part of your team, okay? We know that entrepreneurship is a team sport. You know, a business owner will tell you you can't do it by yourself. You need a good team to make it happen. And whether that's a formal team, people that you pay and put on your payroll, or that informal team, that mentor, that business advisor, You know, SBA is already part of that informal team. All you have to do is plug into us, and we're part of it, and we can make it happen. And you could use us as little or as much as you want. But finding that navigator to connect you on the local resources are really important. How many people have, I'm going to transition to the report from, yep.
I was asking the question that when you say navigator, are you speaking of a listing of navigators or departmental location where we can call and then be assigned, like a coach structured navigator, or?
Without a doubt. So again, we have 68 district offices across the country. We have 22 veteran business outreach centers, but also, like I said, we have 1,400 locations with SBA districts and our resource partners across the country. So there's a website. You know, I'm going to be here all day, so definitely come and get my business card. I have a one-pager that I'll put in the back, so you have access to that. But sba.gov/local assistance, right? sba.gov/local assistance. It'll give you access to all the SBA district offices and all our resource partners, and you could actually put in your zip code, and it'll pull all of them up in your area, so you could plug right in. Okay? Our job is to make sure that the net is tight enough that nobody falls through the cracks, right? And whether that net is 2 feet away or 100 feet away, depending on the needs of that business, we could adjust. Our job is to let you be there to use us as needed. But again, sba.gov/local assistance, it'll bring you to all those local resources. Okay. Any other questions on general SBA programs and services and veteran business outreach?
I was just going to ask a little bit about Boots to Business. Any update, kind of where that's headed, how that's coming along?
Yep, so great question. So Joe's asking about our Boots to Business program. So SBA is associated with the Transition Assistance Program with the Department of Defense. So we run the Boots to Business program at over 200 locations worldwide, about 170 locations in the United States, and about 35 locations OCONUS. And Boots to Business is that transition assistance program, whereas service members transition outside and military spouses transition out of the military, they have the option to take these tracks. One is education, one's employment, and one's entrepreneurship. And SBA runs that entrepreneurship track. We did about 950 Boots to Business and Boots to Business reboot classes last year, OCONUS and CONUS. And Boots to Business is going along great. We're working with Department of Defense, Department of Labor, Veterans Affairs, to increase the Boots to Business program. We're always tweaking it. We're changing our curriculum. But our job with Boots to Business is to make sure that transitioning service members and military spouses that are interested in entrepreneurship are getting access to the tools and resources they need to make an informed decision as they transition out. It might be for them when they get out. They might be ready to go right away, but after they go through Boots to Business, they might decide, hey, I'm not ready for this yet. I need to tweak my plan. Maybe I want to go to school first. Maybe I want to get a job with an industry that I want to start a business. Maybe do an apprenticeship program before I start the business. And that's why we work with DOD, DOL, VA to give them as many options as they have. I know we have a question right there.
Dennis Ellers from Vertex Enterprise Solutions. We do IT, healthcare IT primarily, and a lot of software development, integration, and modernization, that kind of thing. And we're looking always for qualified developers and business analysts, et cetera. In your Boots to Business program, is there a way to match veterans leaving the military or their spouses who are qualified to businesses like ours? Because it's hard. We want to grow with veterans in employment group, but we don't know exactly where to go look for them, and it's kind of a specialty thing. I mean, so I guess retiring or separating communications squadron people or that kind of thing, computers. How would we go about finding a match with veterans who have the skills we need?
So we'll connect. So that's a perfect, connection with our Department of Labor partners, right? Department of Labor is doing exactly what you're talking about. They either have, the Army, DOD has the Skill Bridge program. Have you heard about Skill Bridge? These are programs that actually will train transitioning service members for 6 months prior to they get out for a certain industry or qualification. But if you're looking at installations that already have those qualifications as they get out, we could target those with Department of Labor. We work with U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the Hiring Our Heroes program. Have you heard about Hiring Our Heroes? U.S. Chamber of Commerce, it's done at installations across the country. They do about, I don't know, probably 50 a year across, and they do exactly what you're talking about. They're matching up the skills for those installations with employers nationwide that want to hire veterans and military spouses. So we'll connect after this, get my information, I'll connect you up. Questions in the back?
Advice on how the SBA relationships works with Bunker Labs?
Yep. Yep. So Bunker Labs is one of our grantees. They're a grantee under the Women Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Program. So we work with them to get women veterans and military spouses either to start or grow businesses. Bunker Labs' model is to partner with local incubators. So they're based out of Chicago. They're at about 15 locations across the country. They're down here at Capitol Post. And what they do is they provide their services, their network, their expertise to assist veterans, military spouses, et cetera. So they're a direct grantee of our program, the Women Veteran Entrepreneurship Training Program. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, hi, Al Yanger with GPSI Guam. I own a service-able veteran hub zone 8A on Guam. And last time I was here in CONUS, there was a discussion about the SBA taking over the CVE responsibilities of the VA. Has that been done?
It has not. So that's out there, kind of in the ecosystem. All I could say with that is there are ongoing talks with the VA and SBA about the future of certification of service-disabled veteran-owned businesses for federal procurement. So it's still with the VA. It's still the Veterans First CVE program out of the VA. That's not going to change anytime soon. So when I say anytime soon, for at least a year. Okay, I'm looking at my crystal ball. But there are conversations happening with SBA. There's preliminary conversations about, how it would happen, what it would cost, what the integration would look like. There's a lot of talk happening, but it's all preliminary. Nothing's about to happen with that. I expect at least a year. It's going to stay with the VA, still be the Veterans First CVE program with the VA. Okay.
Right, but Ray, aren't the SBA regulations now in effect to use for the VA Vet First program?
Correct. So the one thing we have done is, the SBA and the VA regulations have become one, so to speak. So it rests with SBA for ownership and control, and the Office of Hearings and Appeals for SBA. They oversee any issues with people who get certified or don't get certified with CVE. SBA's Office of Hearing Appeals will hear those cases now. Okay. And that's happening right now. Any other questions? And the reason that was done is there were some different interpretations or different rules for the VA and the SBA. So to make it easier, more understandable, they redid the regs so they're consistent, and now they're with SBA's Office of Hearings and Appeals to see any type of issues with certification and ownership and control, stuff like that.
Yeah, the VA is the only agency that requires a CVE, so
yeah, so we don't expect, again, what happens with the program, where it's located is one issue. What happens with the program and whether it's a full, everything's pre-certified or whether it's self-certified, we're not even talking about that yet, right? Right now, they're only talking about what would happen if it got moved to SBA, and SBA oversaw, the SDVOSB program, would it include VOSBs, but the pre-certification, self-certification discussion hasn't even happened yet, okay? Any other questions before we move on to the Access to Capital report? Right. How many people have read the Federal Reserve of New York SBA Access to Capital report? And we got Joe here from the SBA's Office of Advocacy, and a shout out to Joe and his team, especially Brian Head, for working with the New York Fed to make this happen. So we're going to talk a little bit about access to capital. This is a report that came out a couple of weeks ago now, and it started with, we had a Yale grad student come to SBA to do kind of some research on access to capital for veteran-owned small businesses. And there's always been a gap on veteran-owned small businesses and access to capital, because on the SBA side, you know, SBA, we don't lend money directly, right? We guarantee loans through commercial lenders. We work with some CDFIs and nonprofit organizations. So SBA doesn't lend money directly. So getting that data for veterans that receive loans, SBA loans, is easy, right? Because lenders have to check off, hey, we're loaning to a veteran. We're going to use the Veteran Entrepreneurship Act of 2015. You know, prior they used to use the Patriot Express program. So we know when lenders are lending to veterans, but we don't know when lenders are not lending to veterans. If a veteran goes in and that bank does not lend to a veteran-owned small business, you know, where's that data kept? We don't have access to that. So there's always been that gap. And, you know, and why? You know, what are the reasons that veterans aren't getting access to capital, right? Is it collateral? Is it credit score? Is it maybe they're not prepared? They don't understand what a lender's looking for. Maybe they don't understand how much money they need. Then maybe they're not going to the right lender. Maybe they're applying for the wrong type of funding. So there's a lot of reasons why, but we've never had access to that. So when Sid, who was our you know, graduate intern, started this report, he reached out to the New York Fed. And the New York Fed has this, you know, small business credit survey that they do, and they account for veteran-owned small businesses. And the small business credit survey are for businesses with 500 employees or less, okay? And they do it for all small businesses. The New York Fed does it, and now they index for veteran-owned small businesses. So the Fed said, hey, we have some of this information. We could share this information with you. So there we do. We have this combined report using the New York Fed data and a lot of anecdotal, you know, data from SBA and our resource partners. Like I said, we have 12,000 business advisors across the country that work with veterans all the time. And we see veterans on the ground all the time that come to and walk into SBA and say, hey, I applied for a loan and I didn't get it. You know, I need help. How do I get a loan? What do I need to do? So we know it's happening out there, and the veteran will say, you know, the lender said I don't have enough collateral, I don't have enough injection, my credit score isn't good enough. You know, we hear anecdotally across the country what's going on, but we've never had the data to back it up. So with the New York Fed being part of this, now we have some real data from this small business credit survey from the New York Fed. So it was good, and what it really did is it verified a lot of the things we were hearing in the field across the country with veteran-owned small businesses. So, you know, bottom line up front on the report, the big number is since 2010, SBA loans have grown by 82%. SBA loans to veterans have grown 48%, right? That's a big delta, right? So you see that right away and you're like, wow, there must be a problem out there. But if you dig more into the data on what the report talks about, it talks about, you know, veterans, it takes them more times to go to a lender before they get funding. So they usually don't get it on their first time. And veterans usually don't get the amount of funding they're looking for on their first try or at all, as indexed against non-veteran owned businesses. So non-veteran owned businesses, less time going to a lender, they have to go less to get the money, and they usually get the money that they need more than veterans, right? And why is that, right? And so working with SBA, prior to being in headquarters, I've been in headquarters about 3.5 years. I was with SBA in Boston for about 16 years. So I was boots on the ground. I work with lenders, I work with resource partners, I work with local state government, but I work with small business owners and primarily veterans. So we know that veterans are more likely to kind of attack the hill first without getting help, right? We know entrepreneurs are independent by themselves anyways, but veteran entrepreneurs are even more independent. So when they say, hey, I'm starting a business, I need to get some funding, I'm just gonna check it out, learn what I need to learn, and go to a lender and get a loan. And we see that happening. Instead of, hey, maybe I should see or hook up with a business advisor or a mentor or take a class or, hook up with that navigator to learn, what lenders are looking for. What does a lender expect when I walk in? How much money do I need? How do I know that, right? Have you done the work on that? What is credit? What is my credit score? What are lenders looking for credit score? What is collateral? What do I expect when I go to a bank and they say, we need collateral, and they start talking about your home, or they talk about life insurance, right? Are they prepared to have that discussion? When they talk about skin in the game and injection, do you understand when you walk into a lender, they're gonna say, hey, we're probably gonna need somewhere between 20 and 30% injection, for you to get this loan. So setting those expectations up front is really important, and a lot of you I know are, do a lot of federal contracting. We talk about getting federal procurement ready. You need to be lender ready before you go to a lender to give yourself the best chance to make that happen. And it's not only knowing your credit score, it's not only knowing about collateral, understanding injection, it's also about, how much money do you need, right? And can you show that through projections and market research and cash flow analysis that you could pay it back, right? It's also showing that you understand, the lender, what type of funding you need, right? Do you need equity or debt financing, right? Most of it's going to be debt financing. But in the debt financing world, where do you fall, right? Is it a commercial lender? Are you at the top of the ladder? Are you ready to go to a commercial lender? Are you commercial lender ready? Maybe not. Maybe you should be going to a micro lender or a CDFI, and they could take a little more risk. Maybe your credit score is not great. Maybe you don't have that collateral, right? Or even if you are commercial lender ready, what commercial lenders are lending to startups? What commercial lenders are lending to your industry, manufacturing, retail, restaurant, federal procurement, right? What commercial lenders, how much are they lending? Are they just doing 200, 300,000 and above? Or are they doing small dollar loans? Are they doing 150, 50, $75,000 loans, right? If you're in federal procurement, which lenders do contract lines of credit? Some do, some don't. So understanding all this before you go to a lender is important. And that's what the SBA team does. That's what we talk about, having that trust agent, having that navigator that could walk you through these steps before you walk into a lender and being lender ready. So that's what we're seeing with the veteran population. The numbers support what we see in the field is that, veterans are more apt to just attack the hill first and say, okay, I want to test the wall, walk into a lender, tell them I have a great idea, here it is, trust me, and I'll make it happen. Well, we know that doesn't happen, most of the time. You need to be prepared. You need to be lender ready. You have to understand what that lender is going to expect. And I know we have some lenders in the room, and, the non-veteran population is more apt to take those steps than the veteran population. And that's where we see the gap. So I think, from our perspective, the report is, it sheds light with data. Everybody talks about data now. You need data to back up all the anecdotal, thoughts and opinions out there. We have the data that shows what we already know, but the way we could do this is to make sure, organizations like VetForce, other veteran service organizations, other federal agencies, when you see a veteran and they say, hey, I'm looking to start a business, I need financing, we need to get them in the pipeline. Get them to a business advisor, to that mentor, to a training program where they understand what financing is and how to determine how much they need, where to go to, how to identify. Because I can tell you right now, every SBA district office could take 5 minutes and let you know in their local area which lenders are lending to veterans, minorities, or women, which lenders are lending your small dollar loans, large dollar loans, which lenders are doing startups, not doing startups, which industries they're doing, who's doing the most restaurant loans, who's doing the most manufacturing loans, who's doing the most contract lines of credit. Every SBA district office has that information, okay? And they have a relationship with those lenders, okay? There's about 1,800 SBA lenders in the country. And then there's probably another 200 to 300 micro lenders or CDFIs. So you got over 2,000 SBA lending organizations out there, and how do you navigate them? And that's where those local resources, navigators, can give you your best shot at getting that financing. So getting that message to these veteran-owned business owners, veteran-owned businesses, is important. You know, be ready before you take that next step, just like federal procurement. So, you know, if you don't have the report, you know, I could send you a link to it so you could read it. You know, I know we have Joe here with our Office of Advocacy. You know, that's our job. Our job is to help small business owners and help them navigate the landscape. There's a lot of programs, a lot of resources, a lot of veteran service organizations out there. And our job is to make sure that we save everybody time, money, and effort, right? SBA resources are free. We're local. We understand the local community. We have those local relationships. So we want to give you your best shot, whether it's getting access to financing, whether it's getting a federal contract with HHS, you name it, we could plug you in to make that happen. So I know that was a lot of information. You could tell I'm a little passionate about this because I do it every day. But there's a lot of success stories out there. But there are a lot of veterans that are unfortunately falling through the cracks because they're not connecting with that navigator, that trust agent right away to set up those expectations, get that training, get that advice. So I'm going to leave it there, but I'm here to take any questions that you might have, and I'll be here after the noon break too. So any questions?
Let me just mention too, those of you that registered through the VetForce notice, email notice, there's a link to the report in that notice in case you want to use that as a way to get to it.
All right. So thanks for being here. We work for you. We're already part of your team, so let me know if you need anything and we'll kind of make it happen. All right. Thank you very much.